2 p.m. We have a quorum, Mr. Secretary, so everyone's here.
Yes, we are all 7 board members present. We have a quorum. 6, sorry. Numbers are out my screen.
Do we have proof of notice, Ms. Manager?
Yes, sir.
48-hour notice confirmed. All right. I have a couple of announcements for everybody. First and foremost, welcome for your participation and your support. And I know it's been a challenging beginning of the year, but things are getting better every day. And if you keep supporting us, we'll reap the benefits of the harvest at the end of the year. The first thing I want to do is, as you guys probably noticed already, Kim Sanders is our new manager with Artemis. I know Esther did a great job getting us to this point, but we need a little more experience, and Kim's here to bring some of that to the table. And from now on, everyone, will contact Kim for anything that they need. There will be an email blast letting everybody know her contact information. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Secondly, for the townhome owners, we have hired a handyman to come and take care of all the little exterior things, because we noticed there's a lot of safety issues with pavers not being glued, little gutters hanging, things like that. So he's gonna probably start in the next few days. So if you see him, it's Matt the handyman, right? And it's Matt handyman. And basically, just don't get alarmed. It's official HOA stuff going on. Okay. What else? Violations. So as you guys know, that we had several years of basically not enforcing some rules by other board members previously, and we kind of came on through the recall in July, and we kind of hesitant to just start enforcing everything, and we held off on some of the major stuff, like your roof cleanings, your paintings and stuff like that, and we kind of went light. But as of April 1st, it's going to be full enforcement of all violations. So if you've gotten a letter about anything that hasn't been pushed any further, now is the time to get it resolved, because we will be executing the guidelines and the rules of the community coming February 1st, April 1st. Also, you know that the new assessment increase comes April 1st. So starting next month, everyone will pay for the single-family homes the $175, and the townhomes will pay the $328. So that will be reflected also on your account, so you can remember. Anything else, guys? I have one more thing with landscaping. We paid extra money this year to have weed and feed put on our grasses to try to get rid of the bad weeds and have our grass survive stronger. But we're seeing a lot of houses are not irrigated. The weed and feed needs a lot of irrigation, especially right now during the dry season, in order for it to work. So if you don't irrigate, it's not going to happen. Right now, because it's dry, I was asking the landscaper myself, because I saw areas in my house that look nice, areas that don't look as nice. And he says that just some areas are drier than others, so I have to run my sprinklers a little longer. The water bill is not good, but he says as the rainy season comes on, we can kind of back off a little bit. But right now, he's recommending anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes for the dry zones, and then down from there for wherever you guys are getting too much water. So please pay attention to that. And also, the landscaper is not responsible for cutting trees in the single-family homes. They only cut 12 feet in the front of the trees. Anything above 12 feet, anything that's impinging on your house, anything in the sides of your house, back of your house, the single-family homeowner is responsible for that, and they take care of that. The landscaper can provide a quote of what they charge, but you're not obligated to use our landscaper. You use anybody you want. What else?
Sprinklers?
No, the irrigation.
Sprinklers on irrigation?
No, going on irrigation, make sure you do by Osceola County, it's 2 days a week.
Correct.
Odd numbers is Wednesday and Saturdays, and odd.
Sunday and Thursday for the numbers, yeah.
So just to make note of that.
Yeah, and sprinklers, so for the townhomes, everything's taken care of. So this is not a part of the townhomes. The HOA takes care of everything. But for the single family homes also, there's inspections being done every month on your sprinkler system. If you have the water shut off, or if you have your timer turned off, they're not gonna inspect it, because they're assuming that you don't want it taken care of. So if you want them to inspect your system, you have to leave the timer on, or if there's a leak, leave a note or something that you leave it off because there's a leak, and then they'll still check it. But if you have the water supply off at the meter, they're not gonna touch it. Also, that report comes out every month, and when you get it, you can look at your house. If anything needs to be done, then they can provide a quote to fix it if you want them to do it, since they're here all the time. But you're not obligated to use them. And again, single-family homes, when this applies, you need to be responsible for the home repairs and the irrigation. All right, what else? No, okay, that's it, let's move on then. We don't have anybody presenting today, right?
No.
No,
Okay, does anybody in the audience want to make any comments on the agenda, or board members, before we get started?
no.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question on, the roof, but I see you got it down further. I'm one of the properties that was damaged in the hurricane, 317 Via Palma, my name is Kathy.
Okay.
And so I was trying to figure out when.
We're gonna talk
We're gonna
about
get
it.
there, yes.
You're on the agenda, so we'll talk about it.
Could answer from them.
Sounds good. Thank you for joining us. Anybody else? All right.
Can I make one?
Sure.
It was brought to my attention, yesterday, well, day before yesterday, that we're having an increase on motorcycles with no tags driving in our community. In some instances, they have been found to be carrying kids around with no helmets. Florida state statute is very, very specific when it comes to registration. Four-wheelers are not permitted in this community. If you see somebody operating a four-wheeler, especially without a tag, please call the sheriff office. Notify the sheriff office, okay? Because that is not permitted, not even in rural roads are permitted. We don't want to have the record of having a kid being killed in our community just for the lack of judgment of some irresponsible operator. That's all I have.
And one last thing, if anybody that came in after, there's a sign-in sheet, you guys can sign in. It's nice to keep attendance of who is attending the meetings. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at these minutes? Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the closed board meeting minutes with Wallace Janik from February 23rd? Or are there any corrections on it?
No,
All good.
that's a good one.
It's good, everybody's
Yep.
good with that, so anybody making a motion to approve them?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 23rd
A second.
closed meeting with Janik.
Marcelo, and then seconded by Jason, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes unanimous. Moving on to the next set of minutes, from the board meeting on February 23rd. Any corrections?
I got corrections.
Yes, sir.
Committee.
Kim, I'll take it slow for you. Item 9, under committees, sub A, motion was made by Jose, seconded by Herman. Just missing the initial motion, who it was made by. Motion was made by Jose, seconded by Herman. And then same, under committees, sub B. The opposed, that wasn't opposed, it was abstention.
Okay.
And those were my two.
Anybody else? All right, anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 23rd board meeting?
As amended.
As amended.
I make a motion to approve the February 23rd board meeting minutes as amended.
I second.
Okay.
Herman, I think.
I don't know who I heard first. Who's trying to second
Yes,
this?
Herman.
So Herman, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Let's move on to the last, meeting minutes, from a closed board of directors meeting on March 24th. This was the meeting where we met with new manager to kind of, bring her up to speed with what's going on. Anybody have any, corrections or suggestions, huh?
Nope.
No, we're good on that one?
Nope.
All right, so anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes as they are?
I move to approve the closed board meeting minutes from March 24th, 2023.
Anybody second it?
I second.
Marcelo? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Any, managers report, any important things managers you want to talk about right now?
No, just I'm excited to work with Bill Soul, board, and obviously the homeowners, and let's get the community back where the community as a whole wants to be, and get on the ways to looking its best, and I know it can, and the objectives moving forward that the board has told me about, and the townhomes especially get everything up to par, class action lawsuit, if the homeowners obviously are pretty easy to agree to 75% moving forward with all that, but the repairs especially, the one that's here person that I know of, especially the one that's leaking, get that sealed up best we can and then move forward. But the pending items, obviously, get that done.
Welcome to BSO. We're excited to work with you.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully we'll achieve our goals as you just stated. So,
Absolutely.
financial report. Anything you want to say about the finances?
There's a section down, number 9 for treasurers, so we can speak here, I can speak later.
Yeah, you got both. You got-
Oh, we need to remove one of
Two
these.
spots.
Yeah, you got two
They're
spots.
important.
All right, we'll talk about it during the treasurer. We will
Yeah,
amend the
makes
agenda
sense.
moving forward. Then we won't do a financial report. We'll just do
The
treasurer
treasurer.
report, and then we'll approve the financial report at that time. Is that appropriate?
That's fine.
All right, legal counsel.
So going down your agenda, there was an update for the mediation case. It's difficult to get an update on mediation because mediation is a confidential process. So I will focus on the big picture and not get into specifics and hopefully not get myself into too much trouble. So we did go, it was on March 7th. The result of mediation was that there was no agreement that was met, but the most informative part of mediation was learning what the underlying complaint was. And based on that meeting, we realized that there may have been some confusion about what the HOA's involvement or purpose with the telecommunications contract is. And we needed to reinforce that we are trying to get out of that contract, not stay in. And apparently there were some homeowners who didn't quite get that memo, which the whole point of the special assessment and setting up the settlement agreement with the cable case and all of that, the point is to get us out of it so that we can now be masters of our own contract and save the cost of the middleman over the term of 5 or 6 years. So that was a point that was reinforced. There was also some disagreement with how some of the collections efforts are being handled and how some of the compliance issues are being handled. And again, without getting into specifics, we gently explained that while they may disagree with how we're choosing to approach that particular topic, the board is given a great deal of discretion under the business judgment rule to determine how best to tackle those issues. Now, we can't abdicate those responsibilities to anybody else, but just because they may have handled it differently doesn't mean that what we're doing is wrong. And anyway, so there was a bunch of discussion that happened with all of that, and the net result is that we explained our position, they explained their position, and no agreement happened. So I have not heard anything new from them since mediation. I don't know if I will or if I won't, but right now that's kind of where it stands. So it's the next step. If they decide to press the issue, our documents next require arbitration as an option. So if they're going to move forward with it, I would assume that we would be getting a notice of intent to go to arbitration, and we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it. So, yes, sir.
Excuse me, I thought that, okay, that's here, that very nice meeting, as available. I thought that thing that you're talking about the contract with the cable, right? It was a con deal already. That's why you guys told us that the money, let me finish, that the money was gonna be raised up from $161 to $175, which I already did.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, the terms of that settlement are negotiated and done. Whether or not we meet those terms by the end of this fiscal year is the question. So we have a deal with the cable lady, and as long as we can come up with the cash, the deal is done.
But I think what he's alluding to, he's saying, you're saying that increasing the assessment to 175 is gonna cover the cable?
Yeah, from 161 to 175.
No.
So the deal is 475,000 to buy that. So the 175 will not cover that, because we're only raised it by $13. So if you multiply that by 489 houses, we're gonna get 80,000 as best increase from the increase. So what he was saying is we just approve a special assessment for 20%, which is 387 and change, don't quote me on it, it was filed there, that everyone has to pay by December 31st.
Just at once.
A one-time shot.
Okay.
Now, that being said, we need another 585 on top of that would the homeowners have to vote. We have to get 50% of the people to vote for the other 585 in order to be able to obligate the membership to pay. If 50% of the people don't vote, then we cannot force the homeowners to pay that amount, because the board only has power up to 20%, that's it.
Right.
Okay?
But on that note of what you just said about the money that we assess, you have until December 31st to pay that. So you could pay $50 a month if you want, $40 a month. I mean, that's.
You can pay it once, you can pay however you want to pay it, but by December 31st, has to be.
That's important for some people to know.
So the topic of mediation was, I guess they were under the mistaken impression that we were trying to renegotiate and stay in that agreement. And that's the complete opposite of what we're trying to do. So we set the record straight on that. Again, whether or not this goes to the next stage with arbitration, I have no idea. I'll have to wait until they send us a letter or something to figure out what it is they want to do. So
What is the cost for us,
for
for
mediation,
mediation? What is it costing us, the homeowners?
we had to pay,
So far, like
I think we
700,
were in it for 2 hours.
How much?
like 700.
No, we only had to pay half of that though.
Oh,
So we were in it for 2 hours, which is like $700.
$700.
Yeah, because I'm on a flat fee, so these guys didn't get a legal bill from me for attending that. So
And that's
just-
lucky, not the.
it was just the mediator that we had to pay for. Anyway, but that's like as much detail as I can give you without getting myself in trouble. The memorandum of understanding with the CDD, that was a request to coordinate with the CDD's attorney to see if we could take mulch from all of our tree trimming and put them on the CDD common elements in the flower beds so that we didn't have to pay a company fee to haul them off property just to turn around and have somebody bring mulch back. And, my understanding is that the CDD is making a change to their legal counsel at the moment. And so that's all kind of on hold until the new attorney gets her feet in the water and
Can I make a suggestion on that? Can you work with Kim on maybe, I think we should just write it.
I did write it.
Oh, you did write
I
it?
did write it, and I sent it to Scott, and he sat on it
And
for 2
send it
months.
to the attorney
Yeah,
and see what happens.
Yeah, but the memorandum of understanding is only that? I think no.
It's like a quick little one-page,
No, but-
like.
But only about the
covers
mulch?
the rental fees for the.
The fees for the clubhouse for.
No, it's supposed to be about everything.
No, I can't remember. It was
Yeah.
2 months ago. I don't even remember what I put in it now. But if you guys,
I'm gonna look it up and read it.
well, we can
Yeah.
talk about CDD stuff when the CDD board comes up. But if the CDD board wanted to just not charge us a fee for using this, you totally could. You just make a vote at the CDD meeting, and then that's the end of that.
And the
You don't
people
even need a
can
memorandum of
sign
understanding for that.
and send it to the new lawyers.
So,
No.
Okay. anyway, so the bottom line on that one is that's just been sitting on somebody's desk for 2 months because of all that. So, but I sent over a draft that's went into the nether somewhere. Collection stuff. Okay, so last month I sent out 23 letters to homeowners.
Wait, can I interrupt before you go there?
Yeah.
So the collections, I just want to say something about this before he tells you all the details. So the collections the number has been really high since we took over. And the reason for that is that there's been a lot of discrepancies in the ledgers from one management company to another. And I'm not just talking from Infomark to Artemis, but from Titan to Artemis to Infomark to Artemis. There's been discrepancies that have led to a lot of legal action that was unnecessary, and it cost the HOA a lot of money. So we want to collect what is due to the association, but we wanted to make sure that the accounting department at Artemis went through every ledger and make sure that they're accurate before we start pursuing people for money that they might have already paid. And with that in mind, that's the setup, because that's what he's going to talk about his collection attempts.
Right, so I sent out 23 letters last month that basically I'll call them our top offenders. I don't know if offender is a proper word, but you get the idea. Of the 23, 10 of them needed corrections to their ledger because they had made payments to Frazier and Bowles. Frazier and Bowles adjusted their ledger to show the payment, but then that payment never translated its way back to our ledger. So on our AR report, it looks like these guys owe tons of money, and really some of them are actually at zero balance. So there were a few homeowners last month that I'm probably sure are scratching their head going, why the heck am I getting a letter from the lawyer? I thought this was paid. And they're probably right. So we're fixing those. And once we get them fixed, we'll come back around at it, and some people will just be done. They don't have to worry about it. Of the 23 though, 9 of them are paid up. So there were the 10 that needed to be adjusted. There were 9 more based on those letters that are now paid up. They're not on our AR report anymore. And then there are 4 those for me whose balance was correct that are going to be getting lien notice. So a little less than half were we were called up just a friendly notice for me being like, hey man, before this gets out of hand, you need to get your account. So I did. So all things considered, I think we had a pretty good February on the collections margin. Once we get those 10 accounts caught up and ledgers fixed, I think you'll find that your AR number is probably going to drop by about 20 grand. So it's a significant difference in what we're currently showing as being owed to the association was actually owed.
Do you think that was incompetence or malicious?
I think it was more like something got lost in translation. And listen, to be fair, I sent over the invoices to Artemis from Frazier a month ago, but I didn't follow up on them either. So I gave Esther a...
No, the best they didn't get it to begin with. So it was incompetence, not maliciousness.
No, it was neither.
My gut instinct tells me it's just an administrative error, like someone
Yeah.
just didn't pursue to reconcile the day.
So I gave Esther a hard copy when she was at this meeting, and I did not follow up with her to make sure that was being processed. So part of that's on me. I should have double checked on that.
I think it's more based on Frazier and Bowles.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't get
They're not-
everything happened before.
No, I mean, that could be too. I mean, they really should have sent a copy over to Artemis and copied me on it, but again, what's done is done. I can't unring the bell. The point is, we're fixing it. And we'll be able to get back on the right number and move forward with that, so. You guys put new HOA CCNRs down here. I know we had talked in broad terms about.
Well, it wasn't supposed to say update, it was supposed to say, let's talk about it.
My heart dropped a little bit, I thought, correct, did I forget to do something last month?
We just want to make sure you don't forget it.
Yeah.
So, you know, something we've discussed here before, and I think a lot of the board members share the sentiment that our rules and regulations really suck. They're very contradictory. In some places, they say you can do something, in other places, they say you can't. A lot of the rules are all more geared to the developer, which no longer is here.
CCNRs reference a document that doesn't technically exist anymore.
The bylaws don't talk to our documents either, but they create new bylaws too. So I think that we should cash in on the opportunity that we have a lot of membership involvement, and we're going to need all these different voting going on now with the election, with the special assessment, with the lawsuit for construction defect, all this stuff. There's a lot of people to vote. It's a good time for us to work on rewriting our rules. And I'm not talking just as the board, because I think we can come up with an initial draft and then kind of let the membership also weigh in on what's important to them, what's not important, and come up with a draft that we will all be happy with. And I think it's going to take time, but that's what I wanted to know, if you can kind of lay out the blueprint of what we need to do.
If you guys are going to take the time to go and get the 75% to be able to approve the lawsuit with Paul Janik anyway, if we manage to hit that threshold, that would be more than enough to be able to completely change your documents. And I was telling Jason, I wrote a set of documents for another small subdivision in Orange County, and I could use that as a template, as a starting point, so that we're not having to reinvent the wheel. There are provisions in your current document, so like for instance, approving litigation, how it requires a 3/4 vote. In order to change that provision in your CCNRs, you have to get a 3/4 vote in order to change it. But for the rest of the document, you only need a 2/3 vote, right? So if we're going after the 75% anyway, and we manage to hit it, you could completely redraft your whole document. That would be enough of a vote to be like, you know what, forget that. New documents, here you go. We'll record these. They're good for 30 years, and then that's the end of that. If you only hit the 66%, you would be allowed to change everything except that provision.
Is that provision not a state law though, or no?
No, that's not state law.
I thought I read it in 720 at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read on the Florida statute.
No, our document supersedes that provision. It's a default provision. It's in there if your documents are silent on it. And even in that statute puts a dollar number on it.
So,
Whichever one's more stringent.
so can you give me a time frame to get an initial draft?
Send it to me like tomorrow.
Yeah, I could.
Give my invites tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, I could. I mean, if by draft you mean just delete the name of this other association, put Villa Sol in there.
Well, I'm talking more about reconciling what we like about our current rules and maybe.
But this would be a starting point. This is not a final draft.
Yeah.
It would be a
Yeah, but just changing the name, it's gonna leave a lot of things out. So I think if we can reconcile, starting with the attorney, reconcile the things that are good about our documents with the things of the other documents.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, Mario. Everything about my document I love, right? So when I send you the draft, you guys start marking it up. I can of course redraft, as we go, and you can
Fair enough.
plug and delete and do what you
No, I
want.
think it's easier because then we get the draft and then whatever we like from ours, then we
Yeah.
input it in that draft.
Yeah, or even if you just want to.
You're gonna get 6 drafts.
Listen, I don't, if it takes 6 drafts, it takes 6 drafts, but that's why this is a project. It's not an event, right? This is.
No, exactly. That's why I want to be realistic with the time frame.
So however long it takes you to pull your 75% vote together, which will probably take weeks anyway.
It's gonna take a while.
Well,
that
I'm less optimistic. I'm trying to see if we can get this by election time.
Like in November,
September.
September,
We're trying to get it to September.
like you're trying to say. You're
Like
special
have it
meetings.
up for a vote by September if we could.
Well, yeah, but if you're trying to get them to vote to approve the other assessment.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's gonna happen everything at the same time, because we can start with the assessment, we start with the.
That's not how that works. If you're trying to use the same proxy form
Yeah.
to do your special assessment that you're trying to use to do your documents, you have to set a special
Maybe
meeting.
I stated it wrong, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I want separate elections for it, but what I'm trying to say is, since we're considering trying to voting as part of this, you know what I'm saying? We can do separate elections, but you would have the same people voting because they're already engaged in the system, is what I'm saying. Not necessarily have one election for everyone to get one vote for everything. Because there's gonna be people that are gonna agree with one thing and not with the other, so you can't do it like that.
but if they assign you their proxy, whoever it is they assign their proxy.
But not everyone's gonna do that,
Well,
especially something that's serious.
I don't-
I have a feeling you're gonna get more people voting than you think.
listen, I've been doing this a while, and realistically speaking, unless you go out and you farm proxies, I seriously doubt you're gonna get.
If we get 75% in proxies, then it's a whole different.
Because on
But what I'm
the,
saying is
on
it's
the
gonna take a
voting,
concerted effort to get your number, which
but
means
electronic voting, you got 3 months to get those votes.
you can open up
Yeah,
electronic
for 3
voting
months.
as early as you want
Yeah.
and direct people to go
Vote,
vote. I suppose that's true.
The only thing I think is elections that have the time, short, I think 72 hours for elections.
Well, they have to close it a certain amount of
Yeah.
time before the election. So
Correct.
that they have time to tally them.
Correct.
To get, so, but I mean, I'm not aware of any rule that says you can't open the window to start voting, weeks
Yeah.
out. Your vendor that you do electronic voting would probably be able to better answer that question.
I don't think we'll get 75% in proxies. I think it's gonna be more like 30-40% proxies and everybody else
Well,
is gonna
let
show up and
me, let me
vote.
put it to you this way. Either way, whether you have a combination of electronic voting, whether you have, or any proxies at all, you have to set the meeting. The meeting's gotta have a published agenda, and those proxies are only good 90 days from the date of that meeting, right? So if we set a meeting on April 5th, all right, and you don't hit your number on April 5th, you can reset the meeting. You can adjourn the meeting and push it out up to 90 days. And then after that, all your proxies expire, right? So if you're going to get any proxies to try to get some of this approved, you're still going to have to coordinate meeting dates and publish an agenda.
Correct. No, I understand that. Now, let me ask you a question. How would it work then if we lump everything together into one election like that on one proxy? And let's say, I don't want to vote for the special assessment, but I like everything else. How are we going to separate them?
Then you would have to specifically show up and cast your vote. If you're going to give your proxy to another homeowner, the person to whom you gave your proxy is now entitled to vote your lot,
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
right? So if you wanted to bifurcate your vote,
But I'm saying, like,
okay, I'm going to approve this.
so if
but-
somebody wants to give a proxy and say, vote for the assessment, but don't vote for the rules, they can't do that.
You could do a limited proxy, which is basically the same thing as a general proxy, but you're saying on this specific issue, I want you to vote this way.
I didn't know that.
But generally speaking,
I was going
you
to vote or not.
don't put multiple issues on the same
Yeah,
agenda.
Correct.
You do separate agendas, separate items because of that issue.
yeah.
So, I mean,
But we could do one meeting for this.
well, that's what I'm saying. There's no
Yes.
rule that says you can't do that. You just
I
don't
mean-
usually see it.
It's not recommended that you do, that's a major issue.
What I
major
envision is having one meeting to address all 3 issues, but then having separate proxies, separate ballots for each issue, so that then,
So
you know,
different elections.
if I want to sign a proxy and I don't want to vote on 2 things, I'll give them 2 proxies of the stuff I want to vote on, and the other one I won't do that.
Do that. You could,
Three
you could,
separate-
you could do a limited proxy
Yes,
and direct your proxy to vote a certain way.
because in the board packet, when I did the 2 companies, I spoke to one company, saw their actual, the way you do the actual voting online, and do the actual proxy. You can do separate, and it's unlimited for a year.
Correct.
So-
I kind of like that. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking of.
So if the homeowner said, okay, I want to vote on specifically the construction defect. They vote this way on that one, this way on the CCNRs, this one on, the additional assessment, right? That's the cable issue, yeah. So if there's those 3 options, and it's easy, they do a yes, yes, no, or whatever it is, or yes, yes, yes.
That's ideal.
Right,
Yeah.
then,
So can we have a representative from maybe one of these voting places to come to the next meeting and kind of,
they could be here, if they
or
can't
even
come virtually, they could be
even virtually, we put them on a.
But did you guys didn't see Bo HOA? Like, you Google it?
Do what?
No, I'm asking the guys, did you guys see it?
Yeah, I saw it, but I mean, it doesn't tell you all the little details, like, I have a general picture of how it works, and it sounds like ideal, but,
Yeah, the one is, the one that's all year is the one I decided.
that's the
called
HOA
Gitform.
now, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, the other one I
No.
didn't see in person. The Gitform is definitely more inclusive of what direction you want to go. The other one is not, it's more like piecemeal.
Mhm.
Right, but it seemed like it was less expensive that way. Piecemeal than the other one.
The other one,
That
they
one
actually
seemed
do.
very expensive. So that's what I'm saying, I'd like to hear from both of them, it doesn't have to be on the same day, but, you know, get an idea of what the differences are, because I can't really appreciate that from just the videos.
Right, I understand.
The videos are geared to making it seem like it's all cool.
And they actually consider, even if they don't have to be here, they can do whatever you want, but they actually have the video where you can actually just watch the whole process.
The tutorial, yeah.
Yeah,
The
the
demo.
tutorial, and then giving the presentations, either way, whatever way you want. But the way they do it, it's unlimited, so they do the actual, their representative will be here and get the tally and everything from the votes.
And that's what I'm.
And a third party doing it, where it's kind of like if Chris did it, let's just say, for example, if he was, you know, counting himself.
For the record, I don't want that job.
Right, I mean, but, and then if there's also in person with paper as well, like you could both ways, then, you know, somebody counting here too, so you know what I mean? So it's just, they have,
Yeah.
and they do the different ways.
So,
it's
like I
just-
said, I'd rather them be in person or
Okay,
virtual,
yeah.
because I just want to ask a little question as it applies to what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Because everything in the videos is kind of general of one election, and if we're trying to do 3 different things at once, they might be able to advise us the best way to do it, that's easier for them, that's more effective, because I'm sure they've done it before.
Okay.
Make sure it's simplified.
Exactly.
Simple.
Yeah,
Yes.
simple.
Yeah. All right.
Unless you guys have anything else for me, that was my part.
I think that was,
I mean, I know the
Enough.
conversation kind of took
Yeah,
a left
thank
turn
you.
there, but.
You went over your time limit, by the way.
Yeah. Send me
Good past 3 minutes.
All right, Mr. Treasurer.
thank you, Mr. President. So, just so everybody know, since January to the end of February, we've been seeing some good steps on our financials. I'm going to focus on the macro and the trend. And the trend is that we're starting to save more money. So we're starting to see our research funds a little more robust. Now, it's not a lot of money, but the trend is good. And that's what I like about this. It's only 2 months, and we're starting to see that already. So, for example, one major thing that contributed to this was the lawsuit for the townhomes. Because of that, we are seeing savings on money that we had already separated for roof repairs and roof inspections and all that, because the law firm will do that. And we'll do that, and they will cover the cost up front. And if we win the case, then we will pay them. So that seems that we're starting to see some savings there that can potentially be used to conduct some repairs if needed. So that's basically at the end of February, only 2 months of the year, not too much to say, but starting next period for March, probably we will start to see more on the research funds now that we have the special assessment. So far, the trend is good. We're saving money, and if we keep doing this, we're gonna end up the year in a good place.
Thank you very much, Marcelo. Corey?
Thank you. So I have 3 things that I want to go over this evening in our report. First of all, within our community, since last time we met, we've had 2 properties change hands. So 2 properties were sold within the community, 3154 Via Otero, 3140 Rio Chulo. So if you are with us this evening, thank you for joining us, whether you're remote, and welcome to the community. I also am going to start reporting any documents that I hand over to Artemis as part of our process. We hard ink copy of everything to go into our official record. I have not handed anything over to Kim with that. And the last thing I want to do is just report to the community an audit monthly of front steps of what we're seeing, and are we getting those things that we're expected to see up there from the month prior, to make sure that you guys are having that visibility. So I did look at some 2023 documents this afternoon. Kim, you and I got to get together. There's just some folder discrepancies. There's a couple folders with like state names. I got confused, if I'm gonna get confused, the community's get confused, they're empty, we just got to leave. But everything else is up there, in terms of what has been approved. And then, I know Kim, will be diligent in getting tonight's approved minutes, up there, for you guys to view as soon as possible. So those are my three things I want to bring to you guys as a community each and every time we meet.
Corey, what were the addresses for the sales?
3154 via Otero,
Okay.
and 3140 HOA.
And another one was sold via Palm.
This would have been, we're like a month behind.
February.
I was just checking to see if I had them.
Yours?
Because if they had just sold and they were on my list, I would be expecting a stop and check.
Right.
And I wouldn't have to send them a bunch of letters, but they're not.
What was the address?
3154 via Otero.
Was it?
And 3140 HOA.
Oh,
Yep, I'm good, that's it.
all right, thank you, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're moving on to the committee reports. Mr. Jose Sanchez Garcia, any updates regarding the compliance committee?
Well, the compliance committee met about 2 weeks ago. It was a very enlightening meeting. The committee at this time is made out of 4 members. We have one person that asked to be removed because of her commitments. So we have one location available, one space available for one more member. We decided that the committee will meet on the third Thursday of every month, at which time we will take whatever cases in a case-by-case basis from Artemis, and we will review, they will review the case as they see fit. I will supervise the way that they are going to be doing their going through their decision-making process. And then at that time, we would decide if we're going to hear what the resident, because the resident will be invited in to that meeting. We will send notifications ahead of time for that resident to be present. At that point in time, the board would make whatever decision, and it would establish as follows. Kimberly will be looking over both the committee on my shoulder, making sure that we do everything right and correct, and that fairness is the main point in the whole process. The meetings will take place at the Artemis office, the conference room, because my rationale on that one was that the clubhouse is not the right place to have a meeting where information would be vented. Walls here are very thin, and people in the hallway don't need to know what's going on here, especially when it deals with the property. We have to preserve the highest degree of privacy when we conduct these meetings, and so will be their decision that they make.
I had a couple of things just for the record. None of the board members are part of the compliance or ARC committee. Yeah.
So I was about to ask that question.
An ARC committee. Jose is a liaison from the board that gives guidance to the compliance committee. He does not participate in hearings. He does not make any decisions for them. He's just basically facilitating what they need. Just because I know how things are.
I'll be the ward.
Now, the other question I had, those meetings have to be posted, right?
No.
No? The compliance committee
Those
does?
are by invitation only.
Okay, and ARC meetings,
ARC meetings,
do they have to be posted?
I don't think so.
You
Well,
sure?
I just need the minutes have to be recorded.
So just minutes, okay,
architecture.
correct.
So the board alone makes those decisions?
Committees.
The committee.
Okay, but anybody's allowed?
I'm sorry, for what?
Anyone's allowed to come?
For what, architectural?
I think they want to. It's not.
Yes,
Absolutely.
they do.
You guys were usually doing them
But do they have to be
virtually, right?
posted? Did you give me the warnings?
Yeah, but not for compliance. For compliance will be the person decided to be.
For the violation.
Now, are you guys doing ARC meetings virtual?
No, actually, we do the meetings here.
Oh, here.
which I'll go over that as soon as Jose's here.
We need to reconvene about the meeting. What time did we decide on that meeting?
It would be at 5 o'clock.
Because they have to be staggered times for the people, it would not work for that location. We need to reconvene on the meeting place. We need to talk about that sidebar after.
We're showing here for this one, and, I mean, one of us can serve as tigers and not let anybody in here.
I mean.
That's what we want, that's what we don't want, we don't want that.
I would have a problem with standing outside the door. I mean,
Yeah.
we can make sure that nobody can come into this.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I mean, because you stagger the time, so people, like one person. goes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How much time do you suggest? Do you stagger?
Like
30
10
minutes?
to 15 minutes.
Or just 15
between.
minutes?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on how many, if there's not typically a lot of, for the fine. And it's not one, like the first one I would go to help, make sure the committee's on, and then the next ones, they would give me the minutes on.
Yeah, can you work with the compliance committee and have them kind of like do a written process? This way, we can have it in the records, and in case any of the members switch, the new members can quickly get on board by knowing what the process is.
Absolutely.
I'd like to do that for ARC also if possible.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No.
And the same thing, their minutes, they can,
thank you for the update, Jose. Mr. Jason Simmons.
Okay, so the ARC committee is not as exciting as the compliance committee. We had come to an agreement at some point that the second Monday of every month at 6:30, we will have a meeting and we'll be here.
You said Sunday?
No, first Monday, or second Monday, excuse me. Anyone can come.
At 6:30?
And they're gonna be right there. at the
Yeah,
front.
we'll be in the lounge, and as of right now, before I was a little more involved with the voting process, but at this point I've completely stepped back. Tim, Camilo, Mark, thank you guys so much. You're doing an absolutely amazing job. Israel as well. So I mean, there's not much. We've been clearing them out pretty
Just
quickly.
to explain why there was a backlog, we lost some members of the committee for health issues and different situations. So, it took us some time to get back up and running, but Jason's done a fantastic job at getting the new guys up to speed, and they really hammered through a lot of those things. You guys are kind of caught up now, right?
I think we're completely caught up as of right now. I haven't checked in a few days, but usually they're on top of making sure that the votes are done. But I would suggest anyone that wants to come to a meeting for the ARC meeting to ask questions, please,
So
God,
the
do.
ARC meeting is architectural, it's for if you want to do something to your home or your townhome.
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
You need approval for that.
Okay, so yeah, almost anything that you're gonna do, you're gonna need an approval through the ARC to do.
So they will review the submissions at that meeting and approve it or deny it or ask for.
So if you approve some for someone and someone else requests the same thing, you normally approve it for them too.
Generally, that's the way it works, because the ARC committee is gonna go by some general guidelines of what the community looks like. So obviously, if you're deciding you want to put a tree out in the front yard that's gaudy and it does not fit with, and this is a bad example, but it doesn't fit with the aesthetic of the neighborhood, the ARC committee may at that point deny. But for anything that's not going to disrupt the aesthetic of the neighborhood and it's not going to cause any massive problems, I don't see where you would have an approval issue. Paint schemes are the big ones.
So the ARC would be involved if, let's say someone was to build a patio without permission?
They
Like,
would,
get
as
approval,
long.
then the ARC would be involved in that?
So no, actually, that would be the compliance committee, yeah.
Yeah.
We can only approve things that people ask to have approved. If you build it without approval, at that point, it's a compliance issue. It doesn't have anything to do with us.
And keep that in mind, and thanks for bringing that up, keep that in mind, that over the years, lots of people have done different things, from putting things in front of their house, side of the house, whatever, that has gone unchecked. And it's gonna be a little bit of growing pains, so don't think that, we can take a magic wand and make everything
No, if
disappear at
one of
once.
those people,
It's gonna be a process.
and I agree with you 100%, because one of those people have the documentation that they put in for the ARC and they got approved, and they show the documentation that they got approved, then
You're approved.
it's done.
Yeah, you're done
Yeah.
at that point, yeah.
Yeah, fine, good.
and if they don't,
And they don't, there's a problem there.
Yeah,
Right.
they don't see Jose's people. I'm the friendly guy. He's the.
Okay, good.
The compliance committee is very friendly.
They're very professional, and they're very, we'll see how,
Bring your tomatoes.
we'll see how you guys do your job.
No, he has some great out people. I was on the compliance committee before I moved to the board, so everyone on the compliance committee they're absolutely great people.
Thank you, Jason, appreciate it. Landscaping committee, you want to talk to me, or you want me? So I kind of covered a lot of the landscaping committee in the initial comments. Basically, this is the season that we're dry, lawns need water. I know in the townhome areas, remember I told you, I'm gonna stick my head out for this townhome because I know that you guys have been underserved over the years. And we've identified about 4 buildings of Villa Otero that have very poor irrigation that needs to be fixed. And we're working with the landscaper to move those sprinkler heads, add some more, because that's why the grass dies a lot on that stretch. So we're working on that. But we're encouraging everybody to irrigate until the rainy season comes. 45 minutes at a minimum in the dry areas, and then if you got greener areas, you can decrease it from there. Weed and feed was placed last month, right? Yeah, last month, the weed and feed. So there's weed and feed in all the grass. So we should be seeing, I know I've been seeing the weeds dying and the grass is starting to come up. What else? So something that's been happening is that a lot of homeowners are sending requests for landscaping through the contact us, or through the administration email. We want to hold everybody accountable, and we don't want to overwhelm any facet of our administration. So Blade Runners has the landscaping order that goes directly to them and leaves an imprint in our website, and also notifies the management that something has been done, just so she could verify if something were not to be addressed. But so far, what I hear is that usually they respond very quickly. They're not everything's included for the single family homes, which I said earlier, and if they come out and they'll assess it, if it's included, they'll take care of it. If it's not included, then it's something the homeowner would have to cover, and then it's up to you whether you use Blade Runners or not. I think we have more fertilization coming in May, right? So yeah, in May they'll be applying fertilizer, no more weed and feed because it'll be hotter. So it'll be more fertilizer. You'll see the grass get a lot greener and grow a lot healthier, hopefully. The trees up by the townhomes have been taken care of. Everything looks good. So we're very happy about that. The CDD agreed to remove the big tree on Riachuelo that broke the sprinkler line there. And that part of Riachuelo down by Villa Palma has no irrigation right now. The pipe is broken and we had to cap it. But that tree will be removed soon, and as soon as it gets removed, that irrigation system will be back up and running. What else? Yes,
one small detail. You may have noticed that maybe in your street, some of the trees, the lower branches of the trees were removed. And the reason for that was to allow the light at night, because those branches were creating a lot of shadows and the street looked like dark, too dark, when in fact we did have light. So that was the reason for that.
yeah. And that's been the instruction to Blade Runners in general in all the areas. The townhomes had that issue with the big notice in the front, but everywhere, and if you live near a house or you see that the trees are obstructing light, let us know, because we want them to trim around it, because our community has very low lighting and it can benefit from as much light as possible. If people can leave their coach lights on, it also helps. But I think that's it, right? That's what we got.
Well, and we, as the board members, we're volunteers. Our homes is our homes. We cannot be, giving just extra help just because, you come to the house and knock or say, just to prevent any issue moving forward, because then someone can say, Herman did this to me, or Mario did this to me. So some people have been coming to the house just to tell me that, Blade Runner did this or that, and the best way is just to do a report on the website, landscaping work order, management can track it and see what's going on. Just to prevent any issue, management is the way to go, and, she can handle it, very well, just to keep that in mind.
I talk to Juan several times a week about many different issues, and I will say that Juan is very, very proactive.
Yeah.
We've talked about sprinklers, as I go for walks constantly, I see sprinklers that are broken, I let him know. He sends his brother over, they fix them. He knows we have a problem in the whole back on Via Palma, all the sprinklers, he's working on it. But he's very, very proactive. I'm glad you brought up about the sprinklers in the private homes and the trimming of trees, because that seems to be the emails that we're getting a lot for the people that are on the landscaping committee.
Correct.
But he is proactive, and he does get back to people, which is very positive.
Correct. Yeah, and what Herman, building up on what Herman says, those work orders are very important because that's the only way to track that you're doing it. Before people say, oh, I told him 10 times, I told him 8 times. But if you don't write it down, we don't know. It's a he said, she said type of situation. So, always, put the proper work order. There's work orders for landscaping, there's work order for addressing issues with management. So under the help menu of the website, you'll see the different work orders and try to use the appropriate one. Don't worry, if you send the wrong one by accident, someone will remind you what you need to do. But we're just hoping that people are more aware that there's different work orders for different stuff.
But also, for the landscaping, people have to be patient. Just because you set one in on a Monday, doesn't mean your problem's gonna be fixed by Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It might be scheduled for the following week. So you have to be a little patient. It's not like they're gonna drop everything they're doing and run unless it's a big leak.
There's 351 homes and there's 138 townhomes, and if everybody puts in a ticket, that's gonna take a little while, so,
Oh, and also just bringing the last thing that I remember, be respectful. I'm not saying here anyone, but I just received complaint that some homeowners have been, for some reason, screaming at the employees for I don't know what reason. So just be mindful, respectful. If you have any issue, tell management. Management can handle it. You don't need to get involved in anything. If it's something serious, I don't know, something that is, call the police. But if it's something that, I don't know, they drop something, don't get into this argument. Just tell the management, take a picture, and the board later can handle it.
And Juan from Blade Runners has also asked nicely that the employees don't be disturbed because they're being paid by the hour. They got a lot of work to get done. And, I know you say it's just me coming out, but you don't know if in the previous block, 2 people came out, or 3 people, and they get put behind. So, it's better to follow the right process and just get resolution. The employees are not allowed, even if you tell them, cut this bush because you forgot it, they're not allowed to do it. You understand? They have to wait until one gives them the order to come and do it because they already have orders of the stuff they have to do that day. So please don't approach any of the employees. Juan is another story, but he prefers that you enter the work order and he comes when he has time.
Documentation, right?
Documentation, that's it. Accountability, remember, that was what we ran on, was accountability. That's what we're trying to do, hold everybody accountable, including ourselves. All right, social committee. So I guess this is my piece now. So I am the liaison for the social committee. Right now, there were some volunteers to the social committee, but we haven't heard a lot. I kind of sent an email out today, so I'm trying to verify how many people actually still want to be on the committee. But we can use volunteers because even though the committee we want to be 3 to 5 people, we also need volunteers for events, volunteers for different things. And we can never have more than enough volunteers. So please feel free to email me if you want to volunteer. We're going to start running a list of the people who want to volunteer. So when the events come up, we'll send an email out to everybody and kind of hopefully get a lot of people to turn out. So right now we're working on garage sales. So our documents have allow for 2 yard sales a year for the community. So we're aiming for April 22nd, it's a Saturday, for our first yard sale, or garage sale, however you want to call it. Basically what we're going to do, we entertain different ways of doing it, but this is our first time. We don't want people lugging stuff to different places. So we're just going to have everyone just do it in front of their house and have people come in and drive around and look at stuff. So we're going to do 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We thought these would be the ideal hours where it's still cool out and people can shop, and then by 1 o'clock people can pack up and go have lunch. We're only going to do it on Saturday this time because we want to see how the turnout is and everything. So if you got stuff in your garage that's been sitting there, you haven't used it in a couple of years, I'm trying to get a couple bucks for it. What else? We'd like to do a lot more, but you know, like for Christmas, we had all these plans to do something for Christmas, but we just didn't have volunteers, we didn't have funds, you know, so, you know, we're working on all that. I think, you know, there's always an ability for members and even residents just to donate to the social committee for events, because the HOA can only allocate so much to them, and we just can't spend the community's money on that. Yes, ma'am.
I can work on getting,
Sponsors.
sponsors.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's music to my ears. That's exactly what we need, sponsors. What else? And also, you know, email. So there's an email, socialcommittee@vsolhoa.com. That's what it is, right? Social committee is a social. I think it's social committee. I think I looked at it today.
Email both. Social
There's so many
committee and
emails to keep
social.
track of. I just want to verify I don't give you the wrong information. It's either social or social committee, but I think social committee.
Yeah, social at
So it's
VSOHOA.com.
social, just the word social at VSOHOA.com. If you are thinking of any events that you think we should be having, any ideas you have, I mean, you know, creativity is half the battle with this stuff and working out the logistics. People always want to show up for the event, but people don't want to contribute to making it. So ideas, money, manpower, supplies, all kinds of things help. So we look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you. Safety.
So I was out, you know, a few weeks, but Luis Corrales was, you know, doing some safety round when I was not able to do it, and he encountered a few things. He reported to me, people overnight here drinking and doing wrong things, and he texts me and he says that the guy just told him, apparently you are the replacement of Herman, you know, because he didn't see me for long. So at least the guys that were doing the wrong thing, they know, at least people are watching. So if you see something, just tell them, you know, say something to them or call someone, call the police. At least if they know that someone is watching, they gotta go, because as soon as he just say, hey, the pool is closed, they laugh. So, you know, he just took those few words and everybody left. So he was there until like midnight, and at least he kept everything good. So we need volunteers. You know, this committee we need everybody that can just put a little bit of time and see what's going on in the community can help by calling the cops, you know, by just informing the community on WhatsApp or Facebook saying, hey, we saw this, and you check on your street and people can watch by the windows. We have prevented a few incidents by just doing that. But pretty much so far it's been, as I got from the committee, that everything is being calm, you know, no big issues. So the only issue is the motorcycles, but so far everything else is good.
And obviously, by no means are we saying that take matters into your own hands. It's just observe and report. Don't engage people. If you see they're angry, just walk away. You know, we don't want no one getting hurt. This is just a matter of if you kind of set presence that everybody's kind of watching, these kids will go away.
Yeah.
The majority of them that we've encountered are not dangerous people. They're either really young adults or late teenagers that are just looking for a place to hang out. Unfortunately, you know, that comes with drinking, with doing things that people in that category do. But yeah, some of them have gone further than that, because I know, you know, a few months ago, we had a house that was empty, vacant, and they decided they were going to use it as a club for the night and charge entrance fees to the house. So, you know, you got to, especially if you live near those houses that you know are Airbnbs or they're vacant, keep an eye out every so often when you come out in the morning, look at the doors and stuff, see if there's stuff that's broken, because that's how we found out about that house. Because that house, they came and I think they broke the door a couple days before, and then suddenly all these kids are showing up on a Saturday night, and the neighbor next door said, no, the door was broken, now they're coming. And these kids were hanging out at this a dance music festival all over that street trying to wait to get in. And luckily we were able to call the cops and it got broken up. But, you know, that's what we want. We want people just to keep an eye out and try to, you know, make it difficult for these kids to kind of come here and call this kind of like a party area. If you want to maintain our, go ahead.
I have a comment for the safety committee, what I prefer, if you don't mind, we use the open forum to express my concern
Sure.
about the member of the safety committee
Okay,
and explain the situation.
okay, we'll get to the open forum in a little bit.
Thank you, I appreciate
No
that.
problem.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The community I lived at before I came here,
I'm sorry, I can't understand you. You can speak a little louder?
in the community I lived at before we came to Bremerton,
Uh-huh.
they had a community web where one person could talk to the web, you know this, or I've got an animal on the street, you know, everybody can talk to everybody on our website. So
How do they do that there?
it went through your email.
Oh,
The hours, we got the forum in the website.
Yeah.
But you need to be registered on the website.
yeah, if you're registered at the website, we have a forum there for that, but I don't know how many people actually use it right now.
Well, in Bremerton, everybody. I mean, literally, 1,000 people using it.
We have what WhatsApp group, and we have the Facebook group that most people are using.
Yeah, like if somebody wanted to have a garage sale, you know, yeah, I got this for sale, anybody interested? We do that in the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but the WhatsApp and the
so-
Facebook is a private, it's not really,
It's not an official channel. That's
It's a
just-
private-
Yeah, so the Facebook,
For the people that,
correct,
nobody else.
correct,
So the website does have a forum,
yeah.
and can it be used remotely, like from a mobile?
The website is website.
So maybe we can do like a video
Oh,
to teach people how to use it, because I don't even know how to use it myself.
yeah, I did a tutorial, so on
You
YouTube.
know, it is?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe we will email blast it, the tutorial, and maybe we can get more people to use it, and then that'll be like official for something like that. Yes, sir.
You done with yours? I just want to make an observation.
No, fine.
All right, I'm gonna give you a bit of information for all the neighbors to be aware of. There's a new modality, come over and take your car away from you. Okay, what they do, they usually, what they do, they drive a car into the driveway of the target vehicle that they want to take. Usually, a lot of us have cameras in our homes. Those lights would pretty much blind the camera. And what they have, they put a harness around their neck and they walk to the door. They activate that harness, and that harness would pretty much overcome or take over your internet. And that way, what they do, they activate their own fob and they take your car.
This is happening here.
Happening in
Well,
one house.
everywhere.
It's happening
In the
everywhere.
community or?
Oh, yeah, and you're talking about an RFID clone,
Yeah.
RFID cloner.
Make
So-
sure, what you need to do is to have the keys in your room. Never leave it in the living room or in the kitchen. You need to have it in your room, the back, the furthest back of the room.
Yeah, but that's only good within like 6 weeks.
Where you put your keys inside.
That too, you can do it, that just to block, because usually what they do, they just knock the car a little bit to make it where it starts sounding the alarm. Then you hit it, then they clone your key, and that's it, you're done.
Yeah, and just be aware, it happened in at least one house in Villa Sol already.
Well, I hope they come to my house.
Wow.
So,
What's the moral of the story? Up the insurance on your car and then somebody steals it?
Yeah.
Make sure you don't,
So, since I'm a retiree, and I really have to work for a living, I want to pass a piece of information because it is not anymore that they come over and break into your car. What they do, they come over and take over, and in some instances, the cars that they cannot take, actually, the damages into the electronics of the car are very serious. Just keep that in mind.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing it. All right, going back to old business now. Any update on Infomark missing records?
Tuesday, everything that we've obtained from everywhere is gonna be completely uploaded in the system.
This coming Tuesday.
This is coming Tuesday, correct.
of the payments.
Where do we stand as far as gaps are concerned?
Yes, that's, I'll know everything
Okay, so
After Tuesday.
were you able to get the vault records that Herman posted on the website? So, okay, good.
Yes.
So,
I know I copied you guys on that email traffic. Katie swears that they put at least the last 2 years up on the shared drive. So one of the things that I'm looking for is when you guys, is if they're not all there, I'm gonna go back to Katie and be like, what the hell?
All the vault files, there's a lot of holes.
So
What did she say about the physical records?
she said the physical records, whatever's in the box is in the box. The.
The election
this-
documents, we don't have the
this-
election
This
documents.
phantom offsite storage, this phantom offsite storage spot that records apparently went to, she's like, I don't know. I turned them over, they went and took them somewhere else. She's like, and once they were out of our control, they're out of our
Who
control.
took them?
So, our past board members who had a key to the cupboard over there, in the office.
I'm sorry,
So they have all
What
the
she said
records
is
there. That for that reason
Everything that
releasing
they had, which
Yeah.
was not electronically kept for the last 2 years, was in those
in that
boxes.
office, right?
So
In what-
if
in
it's
what
not in those
boxes?
boxes, it doesn't exist. That's her.
I'm sorry, what boxes?
There were boxes that were being
The boxes
stored
that we inspected.
that ended up at some church.
Those boxes have been here for years. They didn't bring them when the transition occurred. Those boxes have been here for years. Because I've done at least three.
No, what they did
three
was,
record
as
searches
soon as we
before
took
I was
over,
and those boxes have
they took
always
it
been
out. As soon as we took over, they took it out.
I had heard through the
But
grapevine,
that same day, we got people coming in.
but I had heard through the grapevine that you had photos of the voting,
Yeah, we did.
the
Yeah.
ballots.
No, we didn't, they didn't allow us to open this, since they said we didn't make quorum, they kept all the ballots sealed, and we weren't allowed to open them. We got pictures of the envelopes of all the ballots that they
So
received.
Katie said, because I specifically asked about the ballots from last election, she said that those records were kept electronically and that they were included as part of this. So
It's a file folder with them in it.
So, I'm sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding this. I just want to make sure that I'm not misunderstanding this. Are you saying that some of the records that are missing were in this clubhouse
That's what
at
they
some
always
point?
I'm saying
and
that-
Always.
what
disappeared?
I'm saying is that possibility exists,
Oh, okay.
and nobody's been able to verify it one way or the other because the boxes are gone.
But Katie specifically
But
stated.
don't they have to have a chain of custody, something that somebody signed and picked up the records?
I mean, you would think so, but.
So at the point
I
that there's
just
no chain
got-
of custody,
The only
it
thing,
should fall on Infomart.
Her position is that she turned over those records to a couple of board members from last board. Whatever they did with the boxes,
With no
as a
proof.
board member, is their business and it's out of her
With
control.
no proof and no chain of
Whether or
custody,
not-
which means it's her fault, it's her
Listen,
responsibility.
whether or not she ends up getting held liable or
We got
responsible
some
for
of
that,
them.
I don't know. The point of the matter is though, is unless somebody can show us where they're being stored now, the likelihood those records are gonna be restored are slim to none.
So do we need to go forward with an EDPR?
Don't we have recourse of suing Infomart for the money we've lost as a result of all those mock crap elections we had?
What money have we lost? We haven't lost.
All the ballots they keep sending out.
We haven't lost any money.
What do you mean? All that cost us money, and that belongs to us.
No, we haven't,
No,
we have not suffered a damage because they haven't kept the records, at least not yet.
Are you kidding me? You had the same board members in there for 6 years.
I got a question for you. Can you approach or can the member of Infomart who is providing you with that statement be approached and asked, we need a sworn affidavit with the name of the people to whom you lease those boxes to?
I mean, I can ask for it.
no, you can demand it
Well, I mean,
as well.
Is it possible that we can meet with a litigation attorney regarding this matter and see what our recourses are?
again, your issue is that we don't have any quantifiable damages.
I want to talk to a litigation attorney.
Well, but let me ask you this.
It's just records that belongs to everybody.
So I'm not a lawyer, no, but those records are the HOA records,
Yes.
with or without damage, right?
Yes.
They belong
To the
to the
association.
association.
Yes.
Now, mysteriously, those records disappeared. I understand that so far there's no damage here, but that property is the association's property. So even if we haven't suffered any damage yet, aren't we allowed to go and try to pursue our own records?
I mean, yeah, to the
Okay.
extent that you can get the records back, absolutely. But if you're asking to hold Infomart financially liable for losing the records, the question is, okay, how big a check do they have to cut in order to cover us for that loss?
Well, I'm thinking along the lines that there's a reason why they lost the records.
Well, that could be, but that's a different claim.
Yeah, prove that.
Right, that's a different
what we
claim.
need
You
to talk
can't go to
about.
Infomart and say, pay me $1 million because I think $1 million is missing and you guys lost the records, so you owe me $1 million. That's not how that works, right?
Well, but civilly, or I guess, civilly, Infomart can be held responsible and they lose it.
Because, just listen, I know for sure, like, if we lose records right now, we're gonna be sued.
Yeah, even if they don't suffer any losses.
Well,
Okay,
but
so-
if we are sued and we lose because, like, say, for instance, Infomart, or not Infomart, Articus loses records, and we get sued and we lose, that would be a recoverable cost that we could then turn around and seek reimbursement for because they fell down on the job. Like right now, Infomart's saying, I don't have the past 7 years. Best I can do is 2 years because that's how long we managed the association, and that's the period of time where we were generating records and kept records. Okay, well, to the extent that you had records from 5 years ago that are now in the ether somewhere, if we suffer a loss because, for instance, we get sued and we get a judgment against us because we couldn't produce those records, and we can show that the reason we didn't produce those records is because our past vendor screwed up and fell down on the job, that would now be a recoverable cost for us. Right now, we have a recoverable cost. Infomart's gonna look at us and be like, I'll drop the ball, sorry guys, what do you want me to do about it? Well, I can't recreate records from 5 years ago. And they're gonna be like, yeah, I messed up, so what? You're like, okay, well, you need to pay me.
So
Okay, how
beyond the-
much? How
beyond-
do you come up with that number?
Beyond the legal issue, which I think I brought this up about 3 times, what do we do to mitigate our exposure?
Here we go.
That's what this whole exercise has been about, right? Getting them on record about what they had in their possession at the time that all this was going on. So that if it becomes an issue, we can then go back and be like, no, I had you on record saying that you were generating these records from 2020 to 2022 and you didn't produce them. And now because I've suffered this loss, we're gonna look to you and claim against your insurance, right? That's what this whole exercise was really about, is just getting them on record, saying what they did, what they didn't do, so that if we suffered a claim, we could rely on that traffic to say, you admitted that it was your responsibility to keep that record, you did.
But that's the thing, that doesn't make sense that management company, right, they took over, they're the custodians, they're the
Commission
custodians.
insurance too, doesn't that cover stuff like that?
I'm sorry?
Errors and omissions insurance? That doesn't cover lost records?
But the point is, yes, it would, but only to the extent that we suffer a loss.
I understand what you're
But
saying, you need to understand that I don't agree with you. And I want an opinion from another attorney that deals with this, so that I'm sure that what you're saying is true, because I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
You understand? That's what I'm saying. I want an HOA litigation attorney to look at what we're going through and to say, you don't have a case. And then I can come back to my membership and tell them, they screwed us and we can't do nothing about it. That's
Are
why
you
I don't.
motion?
My question here becomes,
Yes, it goes.
Yes.
Does anyone oversee the HOA management companies in the state of Florida?
The DDPR.
Huh?
The DDPR.
Okay, so there's where you could file a complaint.
Yeah,
But that's not.
we already did. No, it's supposed to. Okay, what motion we have to do?
Make a motion for the board to seek litigation
And
from
opinion
HOA
on litigation
litigation attorney.
Okay. I'll make a motion for the board to have a second opinion on litigation for the missing records case.
I mean, you really don't need to talk.
I
about it.
second the
You have a
motion.
right to-
Second, Herman, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
my
Who
question,
seconded that?
First button to put.
Herman
Herman
seconded?
second, yeah. I'm sorry.
I understand what you're saying.
But because also confidential information of homeowners was lost.
Right,
We
yeah.
don't know.
Well, we don't-
That's not.
This is what I'm saying, I'm sure there's broken.
We don't know, and the thing is,
Well, no, but
each
they would be
management,
a second, they would be a party to the loss of mediation that you're already in.
yeah, and the thing is,
Right.
each
What?
management
Are they already a
company,
party to it?
No.
Why? Okay, I
So-
can't get that anymore.
Anyway, so each management companies, when they're hired, we are signing of being the custodian of those records. So 7 years.
Right.
So,
Well, 20
so
we only see-
Inframart is saying that they only have two. How they gonna have two?
They're saying because they were only managers for 2
But
years.
that's.
But it doesn't matter because you are the custodian of the
But yet
record.
they gave us all the old records before 2015, so that's what I'm saying. So the gap is from 2015 to 2022.
Yeah.
When they were.
Yeah, but we only received 28 boxes, by the way.
The
Right,
question-
they're all.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's in them.
We
I just-
reviewed them already, we went through all those records.
The question becomes, and this is the pink elephant in the room, is there were records that were lost right at about the point in time that the word forensic audit got tossed around. It's very fishy
Right,
that these records are suddenly missing,
right.
because we brought up, we wanted a forensic audit of the financials for the past 7 or 8 years. Now, not an allegation, but there's a big black hole right there, and it starts to become unusually fishy.
Suspicious.
It's suspicious.
I have a comment.
Save it for the next, we gotta move on, we're running behind.
Okay, it's because the
Yeah.
missing records.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Okay.
All right, we already talked on electronic voting, anybody else want to say anything about this?
No, we just gotta wait until,
The next meeting, both companies here?
Yeah.
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 All right, and update on the cable assessment payment setup, do we have anything from accounting and Artemis regarding front steps? And my understanding is that we have a line item for it.
Yeah, and end of this week, it should be all tied up between Caliber and Front Steps to meet.
Now, can homeowners start sending checks or should we wait?
If they want to see, I
I tell you, I had several homeowners ask me, right, when can I pay? Because they just want to get it done.
if they pay, they're not gonna see it, and they probably want to, there'll be a credit showing on their receipt.
Yeah, I just don't want them to lose money.
Right, they wouldn't lose it, it's gonna show as credit.
So they can pay it under the same account that they have for their assessments, and it shows credit, and then you guys will move it once you set it up, is that how it works?
Yeah, it's already set up in our Caliber system, but nobody sees.
So they can do like other payment and they get special assessment?
Right, that's correct.
How much was that?
370,
It's 387 and change, I don't know the change.
387.91.
387.91,
Not everybody's gonna do that.
excuse me?
What about if not everybody wants to do that? And then only.
You can mail a check.
What about if only, let's say 56% of the community agrees with that, and the other one don't, what's
Then we have to refund the money.
Huh?
Then we have to refund the money, we keep the cable contract. Yeah.
What's the telephone you're paying?
328 then,
328?
a month,
What was the assessment again?
387.91.
387.91.
What are they?
38791.
And why was the increase for the town hall?
It's more because the previous board did a reserve, that, study that showed that your roofs and your exteriors were not in good shape and would need repair over the next, 30 years, they said, you need like $3 million. And you guys were putting away, I think, like, they were putting away for you guys, about 20,000 a year, which would take you an eternity to get there. And your towns would probably fall apart before you get to your goal. So based on the reserve study, it said that we had to collect $178,000 from the town homeowners this year to be on track with that reserve study.
Wow. When was that reserve study done?
They did it December of
December
the
last
year before.
2021.
Yeah.
also on the YouTube, we have all those town halls and all the information in there of those meetings, that is good.
And Mr. Comas was here on several occasions holding us accountable for raising you guys, saying that we weren't doing it. So we had no choice.
Yeah, so
And in the 20 years we lived here, the house roofs have never been cleaned. 20 years.
No.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, so the situation with the townhomes is really, I mean, we're neighbors, right? And we know.
And the next item, we're gonna talk more about townhouse issues. So,
But that assessment is necessary.
The repos was decreased by,
What,
to 7 years from 10. On the governor's desk,
okay,
signed.
you can explain that in a second. So, all right, so we're good on the cable issue, no, nothing else, guys?
no,
It's not retroactive.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the new business. So I'm gonna just say something quick to kind of let everybody know where we're at right now. I know some of you are aware, some of you are not 100% sure what's going on. So since we took over, we've noticed that there's a lot of issues with the roofs, with the exteriors, and specifically with the newer townhomes have the worst problems. So that means the townhomes built 2018, 2019, 2020, those are the ones that have more of the serious problems. And I think a lot of this had to do because they were trying to get out of here and they just kind of finished these houses and left, you know, hoping that nothing would happen to them after that. The good news is that, you know, there is such a thing as a construction defect law that protects the people that have bought that. And we inquired to a law firm that specializes in this. They initially told us it was a 10-year, I think, statute of limitations to be able to claim on that. But I think the law has been updated and now they confirm it's only 7 years. So looking at that, we can only go back to the townhomes that were built 7 years ago, which would be 2016. So anything built after, before 2016 is probably, but I think that encompasses most of the townhomes, I think.
So, well, that law comes into effect in,
No, that's after. Yeah, correct.
yeah.
No, it was just signed by the governor within the past couple days down to 7 years.
So it goes
But
to
that,
July 1st.
but that's why Vologenics, they say we need to sign this quick
Yes.
before that law
So-
came into effect.
So we have time until the law comes into effect.
Yeah.
As long
They're
as,
supposed,
Literally at the meeting today.
Let's get a clarification on
yeah,
that.
because they're supposed to file, that's why we did it back then, because they
Because they
knew,
knew about the impending.
yeah. Because then we couldn't go all the way back to the old building to 2004, 2006.
Yes, so that's why this is such a
so
hot
as long as
potato,
it's not
right?
retroactive.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so that being said, the board has elected to hire the law firm. We hired them on a contingency basis, meaning that the HOA is not laying out any money for this. The law firm will pay all the expenses to take this through court, and if we win, are gonna take a big chunk out of the money we get awarded. Hopefully, they can roll in some attorney fees into that, and our impact will be less. But either way, no matter what we get out of this, it's gonna be more than we have now. And it'll be less for the townhome owners to have to, you know, put up later in life. So our goal is to bring all the buildings up to par so that we can insure them and do the right thing for the townhomes. But right now, in the shape that most of the townhome buildings are, it's gonna be nearly impossible to insure them because no one's gonna wanna take that risk. So there's a process for this. So right now, we're in the process that we hired the law firm. Right now, the law firm is gonna hire some engineers, and they're gonna start doing their preliminary evaluation. They may have to request access to some people's townhomes, and you will be notified by management when this happens. They will probably cut holes in some people's stucco, but they will repair it, because they need to get the data of how things were done. Also with the roofs, they're gonna do the inspection. So as you guys remember that, we voted on doing inspections on all the townhomes at the HOA's cost. But since we hired this firm, they're gonna do a much more in-depth inspection than we can afford to do. So we're gonna wait till they do them. They have given us a time frame of June or July to get these inspections done. Okay, so,
We're not gonna be done before hurricane season.
well, it depends on when you call it. It'll be at the beginning of hurricane season. But either way, I mean, time is against us, guys. I mean, they gotta evaluate all the buildings, and it's gonna take time. But the good news is too that, you know, I know that some of you have leaks, some of you guys have damage, and I know that, especially Ms. Cape, I know you've been very patient with us because we've been trying to get yours fixed, and it's just a lot of things have been coming up, and it just hasn't gotten done. But now with this situation, they have a protocol that whatever roofing company is gonna make the repairs has to follow, because they gotta take certain pictures, report certain things that they find to build our case. So that's why you're still on hold. But what we're hoping is to get this protocol relatively soon. As soon as we have it, you're the first person on the list to get your repair done, okay? And I thank you for being patient, because I know that, you know, it's been a long road for you. okay? And for everybody else, the same thing. We're gonna get bids we're gonna get them evaluated, we're gonna get bids, and, you know, the law firm is encouraging that repairs be made to stop water intrusion, to do the right thing, to protect the interiors of the townhomes. So all that is in the plan, okay? I'm not an advocate of tarping roofs because hurricane comes, tarps go away, and we need another tarp. And tarps are very expensive. I didn't think they were like $200-300. No, they're like a couple of grand to tarp, you know, just one unit. So, you know, we don't want to just keep throwing money. I'd rather put that money towards a, you know, provisional repair that will at least stand a better chance through a hurricane. Make sense? Anybody else want to add anything to that?
No.
I do. And this is just to add on to what he said. This is an immense ball of yarn that we're unwinding at this particular point in time and trying to do everything in the best interest of every single person that lives over in the townhomes. I cannot, my heart goes out to every one of the townhome owners, man.
It's all right, I mean, we've heard this from the old HOA board, and now I understand and I feel good about the new HOA board doing the best they can. Problem is, right, for me personally, I'm talking for myself, our roof has been fixed, right? I thought they were going to inspect and decide what roofs were fine so that they could clean the roofs. I have paid extra more money since I've lived here for the roofs and for the funds, for the HOA, because I have a townhome.
Mm-hmm.
My townhome roof has not been cleaned in 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay?
The problem.
So the HOA board should actually get the letter and start paying fines, because the poor homeowners are getting letters, right? And they're having to pay fines if they don't do it.
And the problem there is that unfortunately,
We
without
cannot.
having the inspection done, we don't know which roofs have leaks. And doing even a soft wash on a roof that has a leak is gonna dump chemicals inside of someone's house, and that's not a good situation.
Yeah, as soon as they do the inspections.
I might talk to my neighbor to the right of me, and we might do our roofs and pay for it
So-
with soft wash.
so-
We'll take responsibility.
So just so you know, the budget to wash all the townhomes is there. We already approved.
It's
it.
already
The
approved, but
thing
we
is that,
cannot do it.
like Jason just said, you know, we don't know which houses are leaking that haven't been reported yet.
So I was saying, in the last meeting, we talked about this,
Correct.
and it was brought up at the meeting by you folks.
Mhm.
Listen, I'm with you on it, I'm just trying to understand. It was brought up in the meeting by you folks that you were gonna start inspections, and as you found homes that were okay, those homes, those townhomes, you could start cleaning and doing your thing.
Correct.
None of that's changed.
Nothing
Nothing's
changed.
changed.
It just,
It got
it
pushed
died.
It gets
So-
pushed out.
But-
It's gonna be September before they.
But here's where we had to look at it. I understand the frustration. I'm there with you. I wanted to start having this done because it's important to you guys. But it's either we foot the bill for that inspection right now, which we know money's tight, or by doing what we've done by going with Volgenic and our legal realm, we have now taken those inspections deeper than we could ever have, and we don't pay a dime on that.
Which is smart.
So we're trying to be fiscally smart with it, and I understand your frustration that we've tried, but as we get more and more information, we peel this onion apart, we're trying to make the decisions as a board that says what is best financially, fiscally, what is best for the building, right? We're hoping that when these things start, we get the ones that we know have big issues out of the way, and then we start, and we would love to be able to go, look, I've got 10 buildings, I can start washing them, I can start doing this. Great, now we have 10 buildings that are insured. We're gonna do a little work over here, now we've got the 11th one. It's gonna take time because
Alright,
it's been so much.
But again,
So until then, if something happens to any of the roofs in the townhomes prior to your inspection, and there's a hurricane, regardless of whether it's the hurricane or whose fault, Villasol HOA and the money that's in funds will fix those roofs, regardless of the damage to the roofs. Whether it was hurricane, whether it was.
no,
That's a blanket statement.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
Because for 20 years, the roofs have been abused, and we've still been paying in fines.
So, to be honest with you, he's right on that, and I've already got that in my own mind.
Listen,
Because of my roof leak, because of most likely, because tile roofs are supposed to be good for 30 years, and my particular townhome was CO'd in 2007, May of 2007. So it's only, not even, what,
Yeah, 15 years.
about 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
And those tile roofs are supposed to last 30 years. If it wasn't a defective tile roof.
No, that's a
That's
known
a
fact.
picture
Look,
purchased from someone that said, I can cut you a deal on these, they're not the best, right?
But remember, the issue here is, the money was never put up.
I know that.
That's the
I'm not
issue.
mad at you guys,
So-
I'm frustrated.
No, and another one, so, the things are coming, the things are coming.
So, guys, can I say something?
You guys are doing an awesome job.
Yeah, you are,
I
I'm
mean,
just frustrated.
I don't know how many times I came like maybe twice, maybe 3 times if I was really stupid. But Ramon Bermudez was the most rudest person I've ever met on any type of a board. He just cut you off before you ever even got started. So I stopped going because it was like, talking to a brick wall. But you guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had some questions here, but I don't want to interrupt the flow of this.
Yeah, let's do that.
Does it have to do with you specifically or in general?
Just questions and some things I noticed, so, but I don't know if you.
Let's do it.
Except for the comment section.
Yeah.
You have a question?
So,
Specifically, I understand the whole process. I am with it. I know the old HOA board and the way they were doing things is the reason why we're seeing all the problems. For cases like Ms. Kate, Amy, myself, I understand we are townhouses that have active leaks. I also understand that a lot of other townhomes have damages, but they don't necessarily have active leaks where it's a serious problem. So, it's going to be tough to say, but what is the true time frame as to versus like us can get those inspections done and can get those repairs because
That would be.
again, like I understand you guys are doing the best you can and you guys are volunteer.
Yeah.
So, but it's important to us because again, rain season is going to come.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
those of us who have active leaks, it's going to be a huge problem.
Correct.
So, there's a lot of things we would essentially want to do with our properties that we can't because we have those problems. So, again, I know you're saying June, July, and I don't.
May I
No,
You don't have to wait that long.
and I'm not saying June or July to get the repairs. We're talking for the inspections to be, the preliminary inspections to be done, so we know the total, like, badness of all the buildings.
All right, done.
Now-
You can say that.
Well, that's what, you cover all this, we said June.
Yeah.
The preliminary inspections will be done in June or July. Now, if
The
your unit is on these numbers we have here, these 4 units, those units will be repaired as soon as we have protocol.
Which I know protocol.
The thing is that we don't want to jeopardize by trying to go with one company in and repair you right away, when we're so close, jeopardize evidence that could be used during the lawsuit. You understand? So now that they have the protocols, we'll get bids on the ones that haven't been bidded on yet. Hers has already been approved, so hers will be repaired right away with the right contractor that will follow the protocol. Makes sense?
and one more thing, those units, the buildings those units are in, are gonna be probably the first ones to be inspected, right? So we're gonna start inspecting those buildings where those units have leaks. So we know as soon as we can start doing the repairs.
Yes, I've asked the law firm specifically to inspect the houses that have the biggest problems first, and then they're gonna go through the oldest ones first. So they're in the process of figuring out their logistics, and there will be a meeting at some point where they're gonna come and present the logistics to us in terms of how it's gonna be done and the actual timeframes that they will get things done. Right, but whoever has active leaks will be repaired. And
So-
to answer your question too, as soon as they clear a building, if they say this building has no issues on the roof, we'll wash the roof.
So my question is, you said that the law firm, everything you're doing is, you think it's a 7-year after they were built, right?
No. There's a new
So
law.
you need to be able to go back. to
There's
the
a new,
village.
there's a new law that the government just signed that enters in effect
I think it's
in
like,
August.
I think it's later. I
That's
think
what we
it's
were told.
October.
There's a conflict about what we were told.
So
but
it comes into effect in October, that law. If we file before the law comes into effect, we are okay.
All right.
If we
It's 10
file
years.
after,
It's 10 years.
it's 7 years.
But it's.
That's why
We're in a rush.
we're rushing this, because we want to have all the information as soon as possible to file the lawsuit before the new law comes into effect.
But our homes don't qualify even 10 years, correct? Because ours were built.
Well,
But if we file before the lawsuit,
we cover everything.
it covers everything,
Gotcha.
right?
We want to get it out the books before.
Okay, gotcha.
For that reason, we signed that with the law firm.
Yeah, look, so, yeah, let's move.
All right. Are we good on that? Anybody else want to talk about the defect repairs, anything like that? No, nobody? All right, good, we're moving on. So we kind of already talked about the additional assessment for the cable bill. And, you know, I'm a homeowner too. I gotta pay just like everybody else. And I'm just gonna tell you though that the benefit of getting this deal done is big for our community. And for those, especially the townhomes that are getting big increases in their assessments, it's another opportunity that in the future, we can negotiate a better cable contract that we will be able to lower the assessments. That's the goal. I mean, my goal is to operate with the least amount of money, but have great services that, you know, we can be proud of, you know, and that's the goal. So, you know, we're gonna put this up for a vote because we want to make sure that we're gonna make the money, we're gonna have the money to close this off come January of next year. Now, if people don't vote, then we're not obligated to make that extra payment, and then we gotta figure out if we're gonna be able to get that money somehow from other channels in the association by trying to save money here, save money there, see what can happen, but it's less likely that we'll be successful if the extra assessment doesn't pass. Okay? All right, insurance proposal. You wanna say something about that?
Yeah, it's the, insurance for the directors and officers and the prime to reinstate it for the board.
Can you preface like when, have we been without this insurance
Yes,
for
with
how long?
over a year.
For over a year, we've had no insurance that's required by Florida statute.
So
We go after.
I think part of it expired. Most of it, I think the DNO expired over a year ago, and then, but the crime and all that has not been in effect for over a year.
We never had that, or it hasn't been in effect.
It was not in effect for over a year.
Okay. So the bottom line is we need to be in compliance, because this is a legal thing, so.
And what does this cover, just so the community knows? What is the insurance for?
The directors and officers insurance covers the board, for basically Arizona mission type, I mean,
If one of you guys really screws the pooch and runs off with HOA money or absconds or something else, the DNO policy would make the association whole for your bad conduct.
Oh, we better definitely get that.
That's your vote of confidence.
You know what I was gonna say, that explains why we don't have it.
Right.
Yeah, I think I needed it before.
So the DNO policy is meant to make the association whole if the directors and officers really screw up bad and end up costing the association a bunch of
and
money.
to be clear, just so that everybody in this room knows, they have no, it's extra for them. It's to protect the directors and officers, okay? But just so you understand, they do not have any access to any money, even though they're the directors and officers, they have no direct access to any money that is part of the association, okay? It's an extra layer of protection. So all your money that you, in your reserves, as the association, is all protected. The only people who have access to those funds, their bank accounts, And I don't even know the people's names in Artemis that have the only access to it. But there's two signers on every check, if you understand, okay? That's how it works. All right, but I don't even, it's two people in our county department who are the only people with access. Okay, so they don't even have access, just so you understand how it works.
And what's the other coverage, crime and?
Crime, it's one I know. I've talked about it so many times.
I looked it up.
Crime and.
The proposal says crime, but I don't know if they're linking that with like a crime committed
No,
by
it's-
a director, or if this is supposed to be like a third party.
No, I think it's for anybody.
It's everybody, yeah, it's anybody that is part of the.
Like if blade runners were to come in and destroy something.
Right, exactly.
Then that crime thing,
Yeah.
on purpose, I'm saying,
That's-
as a
that's-
crime, because they're mad at us about something that.
I mean, they're charging it as a separate line item on here,
Right.
so it should be a separate kind of coverage.
Right. How much is the insurance?
They're quoting this at $2,600.
For the year?
It usually is a year.
Yeah, it's a number.
Yeah.
But it's more expensive this year because we lapsed coverage.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer, it's required by the city.
From the old HOA?
Yeah, sorry, it said the last premium was $2,600.
Yes, sir.
They're quoting us at 30 premium.
33, yeah.
Oh, it's 33, so it went up $700.
Yeah.
Right, because of the lapse, yeah. Correct.
Okay.
So we have to do a motion on that, or that's not?
Yes, it's a.
So we need a motion to approve the insurance proposal.
I make the motion.
The exact number is $33.18 and 10 cents.
33, 18, 10.
That's why they didn't come to the meeting today.
All right.
I second that motion.
All right.
I think Jason already did.
Yeah, I second.
I second it.
Hurry up, George. Hurry. I'm trying.
Was that all in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, we're to everybody's favorite part, open forum.
Let me, can you ask?
Let's try to be courteous, one person at a time, and raise your hands when you call it.
Do we need to move the mic?
Come here, so they can see on the,
Please come here.
at the podium, so they can see
Yeah.
you.
See it, hear you.
And anyone online, please, raise your hands if you wanna comment or ask a question.
Good evening. I'm Leila Valdez, owner of 3150 Via Palma Lane. This girl here is my service dog. Her name is Michelle. And I have an issue with my service dog and one of the members of the safety committee. Specifically, Miss Ann Watman.
Sportsman.
I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry. So, saying that, they live in 3152, and this lady engaged and confronted me in the public place because my lady didn't have a leash. So, as the safety committee, she used her power without any acknowledgement of the law. Because the law in Florida is very clear that the service dog, specifically in the case of mine, didn't require a leash. So, say that there's a violation of the ADA and also the Florida law. For this reason, I'm requesting that Ms. Wakeman be removed from this position because she is using her position to engage with neighbors, to persecute neighbors, to create issues in the neighborhood. And I don't think that this is the purpose of the safety committee. Saying that, I have a video here when that shows her husband here, Mr. Wetman, middle of the road, tried to catch his dog with that leash. I have a video here. And it's available. So, how she have the nerve to just confront me with my dog that was in the public place, protected by the ADA, where criminals doing worse. And I have the video. So, saying that, my request is that she be removed from the safety committee first, and secondly, that we have to evaluate the persons that are volunteers of this committee, because they have to be fair. They can do one thing and try to engage the neighbors. I think that they are using personal issues against me, but this is another issue. This is the first thing that I want to say. The second is the missing file from Inframart. I have an email from Inframart. It was like the 5 days before a change of company. I was requesting more than 15 records about 5 years, and they never said that the record was missing. Yes, I have the email, I will forward to you.
Did they ever give them to you?
No, they said that they would forward all the records to their attorneys, and I have the email.
So, no, they didn't give them to you. Right, and they never gave you the.
No,
Yeah.
but they didn't say that the record was missing.
Well,
They said that they would forward the records to their attorneys.
I wouldn't expect them to admit to that when they sent you the
But I
email.
have the email in case that you need it. They never claimed that the record was missing.
So you want to?
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
You got,
Thank you, Lena.
Mario, you got Bro Serrano on the.
But hold on a minute, because like there needs to be a bit of clarification, like real quick.
So I had a chance to talk with her a little bit before the meeting about this, and
Hi, the video is available.
and just FYI, I did pull the statute. So Florida does have its version of the ADA that would apply. So two things, when all of this happened, she was on a public street. So the ADA would apply in a public setting. Generally speaking, HOAs are private property, and we're not bound by the ADA, either state or federal. We're not a place of public accommodation, but that's not really an issue here, because she was on a public street when all of this happened.
So it's applied.
So it does apply, the ADA would apply, which means
It was a huge area.
which means that provision of the Florida ADA, which says that a service dog is not required to be on a leash, would apply in this circumstance. And I did look it up. It's right here.
Do we know the statute?
Yeah, it's 413.08, and the subsection is 3A.
Bingo.
It's 3A, and just for everybody's edification, I'll just read it real quick. An individual with a disability has the right to be accompanied by a service animal in all areas of public accommodation that the public or customers are normally permitted to occupy. The service animal must be under the control of its handler and must have a harness, leash, or other tether unless either the handler is unable, because of a disability, to use a harness, leash, or other tether, or the use of the harness, leash, or other tether could interfere with the service animal's safe, effective performance of work or tasks, in which case the service animal must otherwise be under the handler's control by means of voice control, signals, or other effective means. So there is a carve-out in that statute for service animals to not be on a harness. Now, setting all of that aside, because it's a place of public accommodation that's not HOA property, it wouldn't be appropriate for us to be involved in that discussion anyway.
Yes, sir.
So, to the extent that we're going to do anything with this, it needs to be like, this does not affect the HOA, but if we're going to have a conversation with a member of our safety committee, it needs to be like, look, in your function as a member of one of our committees, it's observe and report, right? We're not confronting other homeowners about suspected violations. All you need to do is put a ticket in, because the first thing I would have done is I would have looked up the statute and decided whether or not it's something we even need to get involved in, right?
So I have a couple of questions on that though, because.
Wait a minute.
You know what I'm saying? Let me finish.
No, you wait a minute. She came after my wife, and I want to say something.
So this is the reason why we don't want to.
Yeah, but it's a civil issue.
I'm not throwing mud. I'm just gonna say what's on my mind. I'm not upset. I've been dealing with this since we moved.
He wasn't there, he can talk about it.
So I have a video, which I'm not gonna show, of her dog coming up to the front gate of our house. Now, I like her dog, I don't care about it. I don't have a problem with it. When we have a puppy, the puppy got out, I chased the puppy, I apologize. When my wife is walking the dog, her dog, not on the leash, comes towards the dog. So my wife made a comment. That's all I have to say.
It's a lot.
Now, here's the thing, I didn't, please. She has a personal vendetta against us. It's a neighborhood vendetta.
Yeah.
So she tries to find things. I'm sorry it was brought up here. We have tried several times to talk to her in the past. She has no intention of talking to her, and that's fine. She does keep a service dog because she's a wacko. And we have a wacko.
So that's enough. So, listen, I just want to say something. This is the reason why this forum is not for personal issues.
It's not.
This kind of situation should be. Let me talk now. This kind of situation, you should report a complaint to management.
And she did.
Okay, it should.
And
it should have been left there.
But hold on a second, it should have been left there. Right. Now, I only have one question that applies to the HOA. Are you saying that Ms. Worksmith, when she told you about this dog, she mentioned that she was the safety committee person?
Yes, that it was a safety issue, and I have here in the report, I have the video. Everything I said, I have the video.
Submit that to management.
I'm here in the report, and the service.
Okay, all right. But I want you to understand that, like the attorney said, the streets are public, they're seeing the issue, we have no jurisdiction over that. So, you know, that's where that stands. Now, I just wanted to know because, like council also said, we just need to.
There's no personal issue. There's a member of the committee that's using her position to harass neighbor and violate my rights.
We will investigate that and we'll be.
I will clarify, I will clarify that.
No, stop. Just a minute. It's a civil issue, just stop.
My wife is resigning from that committee. I am resigning from the landscaping committee. You have sickos living here, and we have to deal with it. Okay?
All right. Anybody else? Ms. Rose? You're on?
Next time though, like, report it to management, let management deal with it.
Yes, I read
That's
the
it.
report.
Please stop.
So why was it brought up here?
She wanted to come here and address it.
So she wanted to make a big deal out of it.
Yes, that's what you want.
Now,
That's right.
It was dealt with management, it's a civil issue, that was the end of it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, we have been having open forum, and because we thought everybody could be civil.
But
If
we
something
can't.
like this happens again,
It's it.
we may have to start implementing rules, but maybe if you wanna talk about something, you're gonna have to clear it with management before you're gonna be given a chance to talk. I don't wanna be that restrictive, because I don't want this to be communism, but, you know, if we're gonna get into these kind of disrespectful encounters, it's not worth it. This is designed for you to bring issues that affect the entire community, not something that
It's not.
involves personal
Let's
situations.
say her committee, if there's a meeting for this.
Let's just leave it at that, okay, ma'am? Thank you for bringing it up, and we're gonna look into it, and it's gonna be dealt with.
I
accordingly.
appreciate that.
All right, anybody else wanna talk about anything else?
Check,
She had some questions.
check somebody, Serrano, I don't know, she got their hands up.
Rose?
Hi, everyone. How are you? How's everybody?
Good, thanks for asking.
Good, good. First, I want to commend the new board for being so professional and for the great job you guys are doing. Like the lady mentioned before, this is the first time that we actually are counted on and we can be listened. I am also a neighbor from Villa Palma, And I have the same situations with the Worksman family. At one point, Miss Ann actually walked behind my vehicle while I was driving out of my driveway, reverse, and I was about to hit her for like by nothing. She's actually very confrontational. I have actually witnessed the way that she treats Leda. And just by the way the husband just talk, that's actually something that is not even respectful for whatever reason. He mentioned the word wacko. That's something that it's out of order. It's very interesting that today I have a video of him running over my trash bin because he wanted to park his oversized truck. I was advised that street issues are with CDD, and I will bring it on at that time. But I think Via Palma should be no parking at all on the streets because it's a narrow street, and we are the only lane that we don't have a back alley for our trash cans. So I do agree on Ms. Leda that they're a very confrontational family, and they should not be participate on any of our committees.
Thank you, Rose, appreciate it.
So I just want to say something. I personally know all of you, Leda, Jack, your wife, Rose. We're an old neighbor. I've seen you. I never talked to you before, but I've seen you. Regardless of all the issues that all of you might have against each other, it makes me a little sad because I would like to live in a street where we can all say hello to everybody and we can all, regardless of our differences. We will always have differences, right? And on that note, I will strongly encourage you guys to try to talk again and try to find a way to find ways to be able to live in the same street and be able to say hello and goodbye to your neighbor and be a little more neighborish.
I appreciate your work, but I will not allow nobody to violate my rights.
I'm not saying that you need to allow that. All I'm saying is,
this is my only issue here.
so this is the last thing I'm going to say. If you want, get together and try to listen to the other side to understand where they're coming from. All of you Jack, you Leda, you Rose, try to understand where the other are coming from because they might have a point of view that you are not seeing, right? And that might help solve the situation, or at least make the situation livable, right? That's all we need, you know.
I'm for that 100%.
I talk to all of you, and sometimes I listen to you, and I listen to you. Some of you complain about the other one, and it's an uncomfortable situation, right? And it shouldn't be like that. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to live in a nice street, in a nice neighborhood, feel safe, and I think that if we can find a way to talk about it, I would encourage you, and if I can help, I'm more than happy to be there if that helps. That's all I need to say.
My door's open. My door's open.
I appreciate your work. I really appreciate that. I think that is impossible. We tried before.
Let's try one more time.
But I have no problem with my neighbors because I'm not involved in anything they do.
In the interest of time, we're gonna move on.
Any other person?
I got a motion. My motion to this board is to limit the subjects to be discussed in the public forum to only matters within the jurisdiction of the HOA.
Okay.
I'll second that.
That's fine.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But we're,
It's on,
So
the
how-
What's on
So,
the,
so
what's
how
on
can
the
that?
agenda matters on.
agenda matters.
agenda matters.
So how does this
agenda
motion change?
You don't need to make a motion.
No, that's the way it's supposed to be.
But going
Well,
forward.
it would just be.
So, because this is gonna happen, not with them, always somebody's gonna have something. So how do you address
You
it?
can limit it to 3 minutes.
Well, then everybody has a 3-minute limit, that's for sure.
Well, the.
Well,
Exchange shares, people that contribute.
we are giving more lenience to people
Right, of
because,
course, I
but
understand.
usually this doesn't happen often.
All I have to say is the HOA cannot get involved in personal issues.
And that's it,
Neighbors,
period.
And all that we hope, right, what Marcelo said is ideal, but if that can't happen, at least be civil to each other while you're here, and don't call each other names, don't yell at each other, that's all we can have to ask for.
So,
And agree to disagree.
no,
That's it, we're done, we're done.
That's it.
Ms. Kate, sorry, Ms. Kate has been waiting
Yeah.
patiently.
please,
It's
Go ahead, Jason.
it's never gonna change.
it's so they can see you. Thank you.
Lawn care.
Mhm.
They were weeding our lawn behind the town hall yesterday. I don't know if they're short on lawnmowers or if they're not coming through the back of the homes on Via Palma.
You said yesterday?
Huh?
Yesterday?
It was just yesterday. Thursday.
No, because usually,
I think it was Monday.
usually they do it on Monday.
Okay,
Monday, the easier
Tuesday.
day.
Monday, yeah, it's Monday. Anyway, I don't know. Secondly, maybe this is why they don't come. There is, and I should have wrote the address down, on Via Palma where their rear yard backs up to the landscape easement. Okay? Halfway down between the end street and the roundabout. They did an addition, I think a screen porch, because I could see it when I walk on the sidewalk. And then they built a huge open courtyard area further out towards the landscaping easement. And there's no way, I don't think, that they can even get a lawnmower through there
And where's that at?
on Via Palma. And I was staying at my oldest daughter's house in Claremont for about 5 months to help her. She had some medical issues, and she had little ones. So I don't know how long that was there, you know what I'm saying?
2 years.
Years?
2 years.
Did they get approval on that?
No.
Oh, so you're talking about the same thing that you're saying,
3156.
the roads thing?
3156.
Okay, so,
I think that's
Wanna
been
go on
addressed.
that and go look at
Oh, just double check. 31.
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about.
the only other thing that I know was reported to the prior board, and I don't know if you've gotten up, is the bus.
No,
Yes.
that's been handling.
Yes.
It's a process, like, we cannot just remove something just out of the blue. It's a process, it's letter, second,
So,
third, hearing.
the reason why it's taking so long is because we switched management companies.
Yeah.
And we didn't have solid documentation from the previous management company that they were already working on it, even though they said they did. So we had to kind of backtrack and start the whole process all over again since November, and that's why it's taking so long.
But at least they removed one already. You know, they removed the
They
white
used to
one.
have a van next to it, that's gone. But now
Yeah,
the
but
bus-
the school buses.
No, correct, but already they removed the white one that it was full of trash inside and everything.
And then I noticed today, I don't know, we know because it was right across the street, their driveway was catty corner to ours. And so the gentleman that lived there was committing domestic violence against the wife. My one daughter got involved because she was calling the sheriff's office to let them know. But anyway, so long story short, we've asked her how many times for that bus to be moved. It's a commercial vehicle.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
but it's already on the legal.
The violation process is moving forward.
Yeah.
just so you know, this,
How long does that
Boy, it takes,
take? I'm
you
gonna-
need to send 3 letters and the hearing.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
prior board wasn't doing nothing, that's what you're saying.
Yes.
yes.
At least we have no evidence. We have no records. We have no records.
But it's coming, it's coming.
All right, I think that's it. On the special assessment, are we getting emails or is just go on to front steps and pay for that?
you're getting a notice. But
It's due when?
Yeah, once,
Andre,
You have until December 31st to pay it.
Oh, I know we didn't pay in April.
No, that's for the,
till December 30th.
you're talking about the new assessment.
New assessment,
The,
right?
the 328, that starts April
No, that's
1st.
monthly, yeah.
That starts April 1st. That will be on your payment and everything.
All right, so in a one-time special assessment.
right.
Special assessment, you have until December 31st.
Right.
What is that amount?
That's 387.
And 91.
91.
387 387.
I know, right? That's for the minute.
I said the same thing, but legal counsel would lie.
Because you have to be exactly 20%.
That's the 20%.
I would say, I don't know, I mean, I know Herman and I know you, Mario, and Corey, you were on the last one, which, you know, you weren't on the last one? Oh, I thought you were.
But not.
Anyway, but the rest of you guys, everybody's been so super, such a huge difference from the prior board, which I know you guys know. And I actually was one of the people that voted to have Artemis come back, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're onward and upward now, right?
Time adjourned.
So anyone else?
Meeting adjourned.
I second.
Anyone?
Motion.
No.
Who motioned it? Who motioned it?
I motion.
I'll second.
Motion, he second.
I second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye. 41-12.
I told you it was good for two.
Yeah.
Hmm.